Welcome to Monday Night Live on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Eric Naleen, got Drew Kelson, of course. It's spring break for the University of Texas, spring break for the football team, but as we know, the news never stops. A lot of players, as you've mentioned before, Eric, still working in Austin. We're working on bringing you the best insight. So give us a like, subscribe to the channel. Of course, head to InsideTexas.com because next week, spring football, as the title says, it's right around the corner. Should get going. Also got Pro Day. Really exciting time on the 40 acres. Got a lot of other sports going on too. It's always funny how March turns pretty busy. You know, Eric, you look at football recruiting, but then every other sport seems to be doing something, and it's always a fun time to be paying attention to college sports.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This is the time. So it's St. Patrick's Day, and I have to recall one of my funnest or most fun St. Patrick's Day, even though the game did not go the way that we all wanted to. Was it 2004? Nick Fazekas, I think, from Nevada, knocked out UT basketball from the tournament early, unceremoniously. It was kind of one of the times that I remember we were just having a very, very good time. Me and a bunch of Texans. This was back when I was a full-fledged UT fan, long before I started covering them. So when I think about Texas basketball and I think about St. Patrick's Day, that always comes about. It was tough loss. One of the guys in the comments will probably help me out with that one. But yeah, this time of year is great. Recruiting picks up a little bit. Spring football, I care a whole lot more about spring football than I do recruiting. I'm supposed to be selling recruiting at all times, but recruiting is going to pick up a lot more in May when the coaches are really on the road. Spring portal, of course, is going to matter a lot. And then, June, of course, official visits. And then it goes into July where we figure out what this cycle is really going to be about.
It's always this kind of is the table setting time. You learn about visits, you learn about everything. But then spring football comes around. And one of the things that we're going to learn during spring football is a lot about Drew's old side of the ball, the permanent side of the ball for Drew. Eric, you wrote a lot this morning about the offense and what positions may take a step forward, what positions may take a step back. You're going to have some insight on the defense later this week on Inside Texas, but it's going to be a tough task for Pete Kwiatkowski and all involved to bring the level up at all the individual positions with new faces, new everything heading into 2025.
Yeah, I think the schemes are a bit of a force multiplier, so that doesn't bother me too much. I had a lot of people push back on my thoughts on the offense this morning. I encourage everybody to go check that out. On defense, I don't think they're going to take a step back. I know they lost a lot. Jahdae Barron's going to go in the first round. Andrew Makuba probably won't go in the round that he should go. If you talk about how he was as a college player, Alfred Collins, maybe the same goes for him as well. They lost a lot. I think the defense is going to be just as good. And my opinions usually come from the people that are get paid to have the opinion. So I'm not too worried about it. We can go position by position if you want to, where I think it's an upgrade or downgrade. I'm actually more curious to hear what Drew has to say than I do.
Drew, I mean, when you do have this situation where you have one of the best defenses in school history, what do you think is the more important aspect? A lot of these guys, at least in the spring, really need to get hammered down ahead of an important fall when they're going to try to match that 2024 defense.
Well, I think first things first, the talent is there. It's not usually. I mean, we've gone through cycles at Texas where we lose really, really good players, but we're not backfilling with the talent. Not even the talent matches. So where there's inexperience in place, we still have the physical talent in guys that are replacing. From DB to the defensive tackle spots, at least on that side of the ball. I know. One of the key things, and I guess my brain doesn't automatically go into the DB position, is just communication. You still start with all of the basics. You still start with making sure there's confidence in the basics. There's confidence in the way the defense is deployed. There's confidence in the way that things are being done. I think if you look on both sides of the ball, at least from what we've heard currently, as some of the adjustments that are being made to the packages on both sides of the ball, we're not complicating things. We're not getting really more complex, but we are coaching better what we already do. We're probably going to simplify or try to specialize in some things on both sides of the ball that will really lean into the talent a bit more. So, you know, I know Ian has talked about this in the last week or two for sure on Inside Texas, but at the end of the day, Sark has shown the ability to alter his offense. He's shown the ability to tweak those things. If you look back at different times, he's been in different places. He's done things differently. The way things looked at Bama prior to him coming to Texas looks different than it is today. Defensively, we've seen Pete Kowski just revise. Yeah, I think a lot of that is just really a lot more teaching this offseason, a lot more just maximizing the talent you have. And as long as you're not beating up bodies and guys are staying healthy, running around and really maxing out with fresh bodies ready to take on the season.
You know,
Where do you want to start?
Something I'd add to that, though, is that, you know, they're also really good in the cerebral positions. You know, Michael Taft is back. Anthony Hill is back. There's a lot of experience between those two. And then, of course, I would say the third most cerebral position on the field is nickel, star. And then Jelani McDonald has played there quite a bit. And, you know, Jalen Gilbo's over at corner. Jelani McDonald's played a lot of football at star. He played there last year, typically against run-oriented teams, but he also played there his entire freshman year. So I think the cerebral positions, you know, there's not going to be a very big drop-off. You could put anybody back there with Michael Taft. Some of these younger freshmen, you know, Jonah Williams, of course, Jordan Johnson-Rebel is a sophomore now. You're going to feel comfortable, even when Derek Williams isn't out on the field with Michael Taft, about the guys next to him. And then Leonga Lafau got very, very useful experience last year. He got Anthony Hill going in his third year. So, you know, there's not going to be a drop-off when it comes to the cerebral aspects of the sport.
Let's go front to back. Let's start at defensive tackle. You know, Eric, you've written a lot in this offseason about how that pipeline that, you know, Bo Davis was able to make a lot of use of, and maybe even Kenny Baker got more out of developmental wise. It's gone. This is going to be Kenny Baker and Pete Kwiatkowski's defensive tackle room. It's going to be filled with guys that they went and picked out. That includes guys like Alex January, Justice Terry, Josiah Sharma from the high school ranks. But it also includes Cole Brevard, Travis Shaw, Hero Canoe, unnamed guy to be named and identified later on down the road.
Yeah,
but they've got some big shoes to fill, obviously, with Collins and Broughton and Norton and Lole. But you've been pretty bullish on these guys. I think more bullish than I have. I'm just curious if you think it's going to be improved, regress, or if you can want to throw in a third category and make it about the same.
No, I'm going to have a regression on it, but not. I mean, it's not going to be debilitating. You know, I'm big on Brevard, big on Travis Shaw, intrigued by Hero Canoe. Love what I've heard about Justice Terry. Really love what I'm hearing about Michael January. You know, January is probably the one that we're not talking about enough. Everybody's intrigued by the 5-star freshman. Everybody's intrigued by the new portal additions. January probably needs to be mentioned a lot more than he has been. I think he's going to be a first 4 rotational guy. I do think they're going to get another guy in the portal. It's going to be a slight regression because I don't know that they're going to have the raw natural upside that Alfred Collins had and that Vernon Broughton had, but also the experience behind them. Experience in the trenches is massive. And you know, they're losing a lot with Lole and Norton as well. So it's a slight regression. It's not a huge regression, but I'm really excited. The future is bright. They just need to find more guys to bridge between the need to go to portal and the young class that they just signed. January is really the only guy they have. But overall, I think it's going to be an okay group, probably a little bit above SEC average, but they're going to be surrounded by so much talent. I'm not sure that we're going to really have too many concerns about the D tackles.
Drew, you and I were talking before we started about how this is an opportunity for Kenny Baker to really show his developmental ability and maybe some developmental ability that hasn't been seen in that Texas defensive tackle room for a few years. The mute button.
What do you mean about developmental that we hadn't seen in the D tackle room? They keep going to the NFL one after another. It's a conveyor belt.
But these are some guys that How do I put it the right way?
That
You may have got me
Kenny
on that one.
on Kenny Baker's watch, and really starting raw. You're not getting 5-year seniors that are hungry, married,
Okay,
grown
yeah,
men, Alfred
that makes
Collins
sense.
and Vernon Broughton to kind of anchor your team. So when we were talking before, it really Kenny Baker's getting a second year Alex January. It's getting a Justice Terry. He's getting guys who are transferring in, but it's fully on his watch. But when it comes to Kenny, I really think it starts first with things Kenny doesn't touch first. It's the weight room, it's the conditioning, it's the mentality, it's making sure that these guys are physically capable of executing the defense, both from a strength, just a core strong. You need to be strong in the trenches, point blank. Period. That's something guys like Vernon Broughton didn't. Even though he may have been strong in the weight room, applying that explosive power and being able to hold the point, those are fundamental things that before Kenny can even do much, I mean, it really comes down to how these guys work, really from a strength and conditioning standpoint. Everything from that point comes down to how are they executing and doing their responsibilities within the defense, but also putting themselves in position to make plays. So I think Kenny has a great group of specimen, meaning great players, great bodies, great talent, great athleticism to work with. But I also think it's going to come down to how these guys make leaps this offseason, especially in Alex January. Because where you are right, Joe, is we have not seen a freshman or a young defensive tackle really do this in the way that we probably need them to do this year. Since our boy who just went 3 years and out to last
Byron
year,
Murphy.
Byron.
Yeah, since Murphy. So Byron Murphy, and he was a dog day one stepping in, and I mean, he just you couldn't keep him off being the lead for that. So, I really think the strength and conditioning is going to play a much bigger part than Kenny just doing his job. So hopefully those guys can show up and be prepared to take it on next season.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsors, and that is Luxe Kitchen and Bath.
This video is brought to you by Luxe Kitchen and Bath. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook, and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring to life that dream vision of your special home. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team provides full remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today. Or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get a free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE. Or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Link in the description.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Edge room will be.
You're already on mute when the commercial goes. So why were you on remute? It was like a double mute. It's like a double negative. It should have unmuted you.
Oh man, it's been a fun day with this computer. Edge room improved or really improved?
I've got it as neutral, honestly. I think they're losing the dog and Barron. And they wouldn't they wouldn't do an intentional regression by moving Trey Moore to linebacker, but I'm not sure that that's certain. So once I have clarity on what they're going to do with Trey Moore, I might feel a little different about it. Right now, I have it as neutral for next year. Obviously, Colin Simmons is going to step up. That guy's going to have a sack a game probably. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. But I do want to see how they hold up against the run. Barron Sorrell, I think, did a lot of the dirty work. And I'm excited to see, I want to hear a lot more about Zena. I'm really excited about Zena and Lance Jackson as well. Colton Vosick is always tantalized with his ability, but I want to see some consistency with him staying healthy. I want to go upgrade. I don't know. I'm going to stay neutral. I'm going to stay neutral through spring, and then, or until I get some spring intel, spring practice updates might change me. But I do feel that they are missing a little bit from Barron playing the run.
I think the one thing that might alleviate that concern, and it sounds like it's at Jack, is that the two guys who are probably going to be getting most of the snaps, they're not brand new to the position. Like
Sure.
Ethan Burke played a good amount of football, although it was at different spots, but for the most part, it was behind Barron Sorrell last year. Colton Vosick played important snaps, even in the national champ or the semifinal. He was playing that jack position. So are they breaking in somebody new? Sure, but it's not like they're guys who just have not played the spot before, aren't physically ready for what they are going to have to experience. I think the main question may be, how healthy can Colton Vosick be? Because then if you don't have that, then you're relying on a relative unknown in Zena. We've always liked how he's looked walking off the bus, but at the same time, we haven't seen him in games maybe more than once. Lance Jackson's still
Zena's going to be a beast, dude. I don't know if it's going to be this year. At some point, he's going to be a beast. I don't care what he looks like walking off the bus. He's got a thick neck. He's a player. They nailed that evaluation. The early intel on him is great. I'm not worried about it. It's just about this year doing a lot of the dirty work. Barron Sorrell, we found out that Barron Sorrell's only playing at 255 pounds over there at Jack. That's about 15, 20 pounds less than what they're actually looking for in that position. That's why Lance Jackson is probably the ultimate specimen they want. But I'll keep it neutral for now. But I love Zena, and obviously Lance Jackson. I led the parade on that one.
I think I completely understand why you kept it neutral. I do think if we get a healthy Vosick, there are just some things there that truly keep us neutral with the high floor.
You're right. No, you're right.
I do think what typically happens, and what you want to backfill maybe someone like Barron Sorrell with, is someone who Barron Sorrell used to be. Barron Sorrell, prior to really this year, was a guy who you just trusted him to do his job. He wasn't necessarily going to make the plays. It wasn't going to be flash. It wasn't going to be, but you trusted, you knew in that position he was going to be able to do his job, and you can count on him to be in his role. I think that'd be similar to Trey Moore maybe this past year. The guys you knew you could just trust to do their job. But then the difference between guys doing their job, it's now can you make plays within the defense? I'd like to see Ethan Burke. He's made sacks, but I mean, can you anchor the run? Can you be a playmaker in the run game in the way and as disruptive as Sorrell was? Vosick, can you step up and do that? I mean, even going to the DB position, Manny, you've been a great cover corner. Everyone's saying how great you are. You now, can you get some picks? Can you add to that total? Can you start making the plays? Yeah. It's one thing, you want to have a team of guys at a bare minimum that are going to do their job, be in position to make plays. But even if you're in position to make play on a 3rd and 7 and they get 8, like at some point we need guys who can make plays. And I'm hoping that at the defensive end position, we have those guys be able to step in, because the upside is certainly there. I just like to see them be healthy and have, raise the floor to not necessarily where our ceiling was last year, but at least to where we know we can rely on them and get good run, where we're not compensating in other ways because they're on the field.
I will say that, a lot of times it gets convoluted with pass rushes, gets attributed to the defensive ends. The pass rush is going to be better than it was last year. I have, no concerns about that. And I do think Colton Vosick, if he's healthy, he's going to have a lot of that junkyard mentality that Barron Sorrell had. Colton playing through an injury. Colton probably shouldn't have played the last couple of games, or it would have been justified if he hadn't with his injury that it had to be, he had to have surgery early in the offseason. So I think there's some toughness there. And I think Ethan Burke is probably going to play better than he did last year, just because he was on the bench a lot. It's hard to go from starting at Buck pretty much the entire season before to rotating and not rotating a whole lot at Jack. I do think he's probably going to answer the bell. I'm just going to stay neutral until I hear about these guys in the spring, and I'll probably raise it up.
Move on back to linebacker. You got an All-American coming back. You got a guy who's going to be entering his 3rd year with 2nd year of playing linebacker and starting. Then you got some more guys. Trey Moore will be there at that position. And a real promising guy like Ty Anthony Smith. Brad Spence joins the mix. Eric, where do you see the linebacker position and how it looks compared to last season?
Well, I've got it as improved. I'll have it as improved. I haven't written that article yet, but that's an obvious improvement to me. I think a lot of it's going to boil down to Anthony Hill getting better in coverage, but I know that that's going to be a focus of his, and anything that guy focuses on, he becomes really good at. Leonga Lafau entering his second year. The loss of Benda, I do think is real. Benda was really physical downhill in the run game, but I think Leonga has that as well. Love the addition of Brad Spence. Trey Moore gives that room a whole different look. That's probably ties more into that third down package that we're talking about, the ability to pass rush from the linebacker. You got Anthony Hill and Trey Moore coming up the A gaps. That's going to have the quarterback getting rid of the ball pretty quick. Maybe that's where those picks go to Malik Muhammad. It's going to be an upgrade. And then Ty Anthony Smith. Love Ty Anthony. I think Ty Anthony is probably the most natural linebacker in the program.
Drew, where do you see maybe Anthony Hill becoming a face of the program type guy this year, because it could be his last in the 40 acres?
I think from that standpoint, sure, he will. I think you gotta. I mean, Michael Taft has already been that guy. Colin Simmons, it's not his last year or even his third year, but he'll be those guys too. But I do think, I mean, it's Anthony's year. It's his year to kind of go beyond the talent and like show just he can be a consistent backer, both in coverage and in run fits. He's going to get more than enough reps in this conference to be tested in that way. This is the training ground for a lot of what he needs to show he's capable of doing on film, just on a down-to-down basis in the run game. The athleticism is there. The pass rushing is there. The instincts are even there. It's just a matter of seeing the game and fitting the game the way it needs to be fit, because beyond this level, they want your talent, but they want your talent doing their job within the framework of the defense. So that's going to be the biggest thing for him this upcoming season. We know he's a dog. We know he's going to go get it. Like all of that is great, but now it's just it really comes down to film doing the technical things beyond just what your talent shows you're capable of doing.
The best linebackers are always in the right place at the right time. You know, I watch a lot of 49ers. You see, Greenlaw is just always in the right place at the right time. Kuechly was probably the most famous guy of the last, 15 years for right place, right time. It's that linebacker brain that's as valuable as the athletic and explosive traits.
We'll go on back. We got two more positions. I'll do how they do it at Texas. Do safeties in one area, corners and stars in another. Safety, obviously, you do have Michael Taft making his return. You do have Andrew Makuba heading off to the NFL. You have Derek Williams coming back in some form, hopefully right before the season gets going. But who knows on that one? And it's just a room that seeing someone like Makuba leave really changes how the dynamic might be, even with Michael Taft coming back.
Man, that's you just mentioned Makuba leaving and D. Will coming off injury. Because I haven't written this article, I've got to think about it on the fly. And I'm probably going to be neutral because I think Derek Williams has significant NFL upside, but he is coming off injury. Hehowever, we heard that he was entirely engaged throughout the entire season. The mental reps is always a part of the team. I think he's an athletic freak. Maybe we talked about it this morning. Some of these safeties are not nearly as fast as you think they are in a straight line, but they just move so well directionally. Jelani McDonald was mentioned that way. Derek Williams mentioned the same. I'm probably going to have to go neutral on that. Maybe a slight regression on ball production because Makuba's a corner. Makuba's basically a corner cover guy back there playing safety, and then he came up and filled the run harder than I think we've ever seen from him before. Man, I'm leaning towards regression, slight regression. I don't know, man. I think Derek Williams has as much upside as anybody, and we're not including the star here either, right? So it's just straight safeties. And then you got at times there's going to be three safeties out there because they're going to play more dime. You might see Jordan Johnson-Rebell out there. Xavier Filsame's coming along. Jonah Williams is a star. They're not. I don't know how they're going to keep that guy off the field. He's going to play some. You know what? I'm going to go slight regression out of total respect for Makuba. His ball production, the questions about Derek Williams, but it's not going to be much of a regression. And you could put anybody back there with Taft. Me and Joe could be back there with Taft. We'll know what to do. We won't be able to execute, but Taft would at least point us in the right direction. So I think that helps when you have much better athletes like they have at Texas.
Drew, you've been saying correct that this is a very important offseason for Xavier Filsaime.
Huge for him. Huge for him. Huge for guys like Jordan Johnson, Rebel. The real cool thing I think that goes unnoticed, which I'm happy Sark has been able to do this. This defense has been able to do it. They've been able to do it at the defensive tackle position. I think now at the linebacking position and now at DB is when you have great players that put great things on film in your scheme and show you how it's done time and time again. And so these young guys got to see the standard. They see it on film. They see it. And if you know anything about Coach Aquina will pull film from the 80s if he has to show you what it looks like. He will pull film. If there's not a guy on the campus that can do something the way that he needs to see it done, he will go find the film and he'll drill you through it. He'll make sure that you know this is how it's done. But the great thing is guys like Xavier Filsaime, Jordan Johnson Rebel. I mean, Derek Williams has come in and been a star since he got here. He just needs to be healthy. I mean, who knows where Warren Roberson can line up. I do think cross-training is going to be critical this offseason for the DBs in general. But they just got to go out and just follow in the footsteps of the guys who've taken the same footsteps on the same blades of grass, the same drills, the same focus, the same determination of just – I've seen it done. I've seen what consistency done. I've seen what Jade Barron has done. I've seen what Andrew Makuba has done. Now it's belief. You just got to show up and do what these guys done. It's already laid out. So I'm excited to see who actually can maximize themselves kind of going into this season, because they can't say they don't know what good looks like. They can't say they don't know what great looks like anymore.
So Drew brings up Aquina, showing tape from the 80s. Like, when he got there, of course, he showed some tape from the heyday from Texas, but a lot of it was designed. Hey, not look how athletic we are or any of that. Look how physical these guys are. Everybody's coming downhill and hitting. That's really what he was using the old film for. So I think Drew's prescient there on that with Aquina. They got a lot of bodies to work with. There's no doubt about that. They're as talented as ever. It's just kind of experience and getting these guys comfortable playing together.
Eric, you've been pounding the table on this one for a while. That don't let looks fool you with Michael Taft. He can make it in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I've known that guy's an NFL prospect since 2023. It's gonna he has to get bigger. He's going to be a special teams guy no matter what. But I don't see him being an impact player in the NFL at 190 pounds, 195 pounds. He's got to get up to 205. And not just because, so he can get guys down on the ground, but just so he can stay healthy, because he's going to tackle you like he thinks he weighs 250 pounds. But he's got to be able to back it up with some weight to keep him safe. I think probably a 5th round draft pick next year, but he's going to test better than people think. And then on the chalkboard, he's really, really good. And he's got really good ball skills too. So he could go back. Maybe they reimagine his role a little bit, and he becomes a 5 or 6 pick guy. They're going to start looking at him differently. He was already second team All-American this year. I think he had 3 picks 2 years ago, 2 this year. That guy has ball skills of somebody that just goes out and hawks. So he's got it upstairs to jump routes. He's got the ball skills to convert it. I'll go with 5th round right now. But if he shows up in August at 200 pounds and he's running the alley and knocking people backwards, we're probably talking about a 3rd round draft pick.
I like him a lot, man. I think what's going to happen with Michael Taft is what's always continued to happen with Michael Taft is he'll get drafted in the 5th round or something around that point. No one's going to expect, hey, just contribute special teams. And then you're going to look up. It's like, man, he's a safety. He's a safety in the NFL.
Yeah.
Who do you trust to be where they're supposed to be and see the game the way they're supposed to see the game? Yeah. They're going to try to draft over him. They're going to try to find other spots to keep him off the field. But the guy is just going to continue to be where he's supposed to be and when he's supposed to be there with sound tackling, ball skills, and everything else. He's going to continue to set the standard. Before other guys, the talented guys, the fast twitch guys, the physical guys, they learn how to do their job, usually in the same film room with Michael Taft. It's like, hey, you're talented, but until it looks like this, he's going to be in front of you. And Taft he has consistently done that. And I don't think it's going to be any different for him, regardless of where he gets drafted. The guy loves ball and knows ball. And you see it go from the classroom to the field.
It'd be great if he was drafted in the same division as Quinn, just so they can relive that dodgeball every so often. Have to look him off. They know their tendencies pretty well. That'd be pretty.
I had a really good source. I had a really good source tell me the same thing about Taft that Drew's saying. He told me this about a year ago. It's like he's the guy they're always going to try to recruit over, and then he's still going to always start.
Before we keep going, finish with a couple questions in one last position. Got some love from our sponsor, and that is David McClellan.
I'm just going to say, guys, you probably need a fiduciary financial advisor, and I've got the guy for you. His name is David McClellan with Forum Financial. He works broadly and deeply with his clients as a financial life coach, and he should know something about coaching because he won several national championships as a swimmer for the University of Texas. He specializes in financial planning and has contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. So contact David today to be your fiduciary financial planner and schedule a 1-hour consultation to assess your financial situations. The free consultation is available, so just give him a call. The number is 312-933-8823. That's 312-933-8823. His email is also in the description below.
Got 2 questions to hit before we finish with cornerback and star. Do you expect Arch to play 2 years at Texas, or do you see any scenario where he goes pro next year after this upcoming season?
Any scenario, yeah. I mean, I can get pretty creative. Kind of what we talked about during his entire recruitment was that they were looking to be developed. And so, your timeline for leaving the school is not going to be whether or not you're going to get drafted number 1 overall, but whether or not you're ready to win games when you get drafted. And so I foresee 2 years of starting at Texas. And yeah, that's kind of been the plan all along, at least 2 years, really. But any scenario, of course, there's always a scenario. What if they win a national championship this year? Sark gets whoever the worst team in the league is, gets the number 1 pick, and they hire Sark. I mean, obviously it would be Sark and then Arch number 1. So there's a scenario. Obviously, if you're dealing with probabilities, the probability is going to be Texas has Sark and Arch back for 2 years, and hopefully they're going back to back at that point.
And then this one from Kenneth Cazaday: no Texas going after receiver and tight end in the portal. The questionable return of Baxter and Clark. Should they take another running back? I know you talked about the question a little bit this morning and saying that a lot of their behavior doesn't really instruct that they may be looking for one quite yet.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm with fans on this one. They keep asking about it, and our information hasn't really changed or shifted. It's definitely interesting. You got the new running backs coach. You've got the new the new offensive assistant, Neil Brown. These guys come from West Virginia, and maybe they bring that running back. Right now they seem really excited about the running backs they have. We've written a lot about Jared Gibson. CJ Baxter's expected to come back fully healthy. Christian Clark seems way ahead of schedule. We don't even know what that injury really was. It couldn't have been a torn Achilles. And Christian Clark is a significant talent. It's not just some guy that's going to be a platoon back if he really gets rolling. And then of course, you got Trey Wisner. So I think they feel the floor is a lot higher than Texas fans do. And I'm kind of with Texas fans in not really fully understanding with the uncertainty. I'm kind of on your side on this one. But I do, based on my information, it's always a conflict is your information versus intuition. My intuition is they should take a running back. That's been my intuition since both Clark and Baxter got hurt last August. Information points to them being happy with what they have. We'll see what spring reports give. If Christian Clark is moving back to full go, Jared Gibson takes the next step. You can understand them taking a pass. They're really high on Jared Gibson. Freshman issues were fairly obvious, but hopefully the talent was just as obvious, and so coach them up.
Let's finish the defensive discussion last but not least as corner and star, and that was one of the spots where 2 different players kind of switched up. One came from the safety position to the star position. That's Jelani McDonald. The other is Jalen Gilbo, kind of making the same switch that Jahdae Barron made, going from star to corner. When looking, you're losing a Thorpe Award winner and a consensus All-American and probably a top 10 pick. But with the guys they have coming back and some of the guys they have developing, especially at some key positions, where do you think it lies on the improved or regressed scale?
Let's go, Drew.
I mean, naturally, it's a regression. There's Jahdae Barron, man. If you watch any of this NFL coverage and the most random people who are watching this film for the first time and studying him for the first time, he is different. But that's the value of experience that he's brought to the table. I think he knew what he was capable of, but he also exceeded what I think any of us really thought. You're just going to say it and roll out there and win the Thorpe, and he absolutely did it. The one thing that I feel hopeful about, although hope gets us nowhere, is that Jalen Gilbo's been there watching Jahdae take this same route, the same experience. I mean, when you can take some responsibilities off your plate and dial in and just focus on receivers, focus on the route patterns, focus on just playing within the zone, playing on that edge. I mean, there are some things I think Jalen Gilbo will be able to bring to that position that is kind of along the same vein of just understanding the game that kind of goes beyond just your talent and being able to cover receivers in space. So there is some potential there, but you just can't replace a guy with that much. I mean, the physical talent is there, but there's so many intangibles there. But then, I mean, Jelani McDonald, man.
See, that's why it's not. So if you're looking at, you have to look at three positions, not 1 versus 1, but
Right.
It's three positions. And so Barron, you can't get separation from Barron because I don't know if it's the twitch or how smart he is, or it's likely it's a combination of both. His ability to break on the ball was insane. Even if you can create separation, he's going to eat it up real quick. I don't know that Gilbo has that twitch. I do think Gilbo is in the same neighborhood when it comes to speed. The physicality is there for corner. I mean, it's easier to play corner than it is star. We talked about that a lot. I think Gilbo's going to be good, and the sources I have expect him to be the starter. But where you can look at improvements, I think McDonald definitely in run support versus Gilbo, I think is an improvement. Physicality at the point of attack, of course. Gilbo took a lot of poor angles last year too that gave up some free yardage. But I really think it's contract year for Malik. And Malik has always treated him like contract years, going back to high school. Like, this guy's always built up for this moment, this year, where he's always thought about he's going to be a 2-3 contract guy in the NFL. He's worked for it. And I think he does have pretty good ball skills. We haven't quite seen it yet. He'll probably be tested early on in the season. I don't know if he's going to be tested early or later in the season. I think Gilbo's going to have a good year. I'm going to go slight regression because Barron is a freaking beast. But I don't think there's going to be a big drop-off.
I do like that they have Kobe Black there. I think with corner, at least the field and boundary spots, you like to have your three. I know that star is a little bit different, and you have to really focus in on some guys.
Hey, Warren Roberson's right in that conversation. He's as athletically gifted as anybody they have in the secondary. It's just about, can he put it together? He's a dog. He's physical. He's athletic. I think he's got good ball skills as well. So, I mean, it's a 4-man contest. Obviously, Malik is going to start. Let's be honest here. Kept him out of the portal. You can't have that guy on the bench. But, Black is quicker than ever. They're doing a great job, and he's doing a great job of making sure he's keeping a corner body and not outgrowing the position. And then Roberson and Gilbo, they've got 4 guys they're going to feel really good about. It's probably going to end up with Black and Gilbo on one side, Muhammad and Roberson on the other. And he got some young guys chomping at the bit as well. Cade Phillips, we talked about him this morning. You have to bide their time a little bit. Let some of these guys mature out of the program, Muhammad, Gilbo, and then we'll start hearing more about Cade Phillips, some of the younger guys.
You talk about younger guys, I just see special teams contributors.
Yeah, that's what they need to do. Run down the field and hit people. And not get penalties like Warren Roberson.
If you could just freeze this moment in time for these guys, and I hope they
Oh no!
I hope they know it.
Yeah,
you got me, Joe.
Yeah, I think I'm back.
Okay, I hear you, Joe.
All right, I think I'm back up. I don't know what's going on, but I mean, if that was the last topic, I think that's a good one to get out on. Eric,
hold
Drew,
on, hold on a second. I want to hear what Drew has to say, because I agree with that these guys, they're in a precarious position, the younger guys. However, it's a buildup, right, Drew?
Man, listen, if these guys just froze themselves in time and like literally just go look in the mirror. If you're Kobe Black, it's March. The season's not even close to being here. Jalen Gilbo, if you're Cade Phillips, like if you're any of these young guys who are just chomping at the bit, dude, y'all are NFL talents. The day you got on campus, you had the physical traits.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you need to be in the playbook. You need to be taking care of your body. You need to be just dialed in. If you can just lock in, man, lock in, make this your job, make this, just do all this stuff in a way where, you know, like, if I just follow the course, I mean, the examples are there. Like, there's no reason that these guys shouldn't have big off seasons. This is an off season where we're looking at talent, especially at the corner position, especially at this position. We're looking at talent more than we are at production. And it's to the point where now is the time. This stuff starts in February. It starts in March. It starts in April. Like, now is the time where you need to be pressing yourself to be great.
Mm-hmm.
And any of those guys could be the guy who comes out on the other side starting August, starting September. You're going into the thick of the season. You know, whoever's starting against OU, those are the guys who you know we trust with. I mean, that's the kind of stuff where if these guys can just dial in, all the talent is there. Just stay locked in.
That works at wide receiver too. Looking at that group, but yeah, it's they're in these precarious positions right now. You know, a lot of Kobe Black, when he's a freshman, like, man, nobody's ever going to offer me. I'll never get offered, and then it all comes at once. It's an avalanche. Once you get out there and start getting success in college, I think it's the same way. Like, all right, I do belong here. I am the guy. And then you just lean into your technique and what you've been taught. And hey, they're all. Kobe Black's gonna be a baller, but I've been told it might be 2026 when Kobe Black's the baller. You know, you got to experience counts for something, man. And Gilbo's got a lot of experience, but it's gonna be exciting to see how it plays out. No matter who starts in the secondary, they're all ballers.
We'll see it all play out over the course of the spring. And during the spring, make sure you stick around, like this video, subscribe to the channel. We'll be bringing stuff not just from our normal shows, but also practice reports on the scene with some video as well. Of course, head to InsideTexas.com. Now's a great time to sign up right before spring football gets going. Get the inside practice reports and great analysis you can only get at InsideTexas.com. So, Eric, thank you. Drew, thank you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.